What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as we look at this week's edition of AEW Dynamite, as well as the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including Shane McMahon shows interest in AEW, has Dominic Mysterio given in to Liv Morgan, AEW being sued, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Also check out our new videos on Wrestlelamia XL. As always, we won't recap the show, but just look at the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. As always, we start off with the good as number 1, MJF Rush banger. AEW opened up with a banger, giving both men time to work a match in a commercial-free format that made it seem even more special. Was it pay-per-view quality? Well, almost. It definitely got the fans pumped and talking about it online. While MJF's victory was never in doubt, the match put Rush in the spotlight, showing he's ready for a massive push. Number 2, good Owen Hart Cup qualifiers. Last night's Owen Hart Cup qualifiers was a reminder of how to use a tournament to book interesting matchups without needing a feud or title chase driving them. Chris Statlander vs Nyla Rose was a decent match, while Claudio Castagnoli vs Pac was both magnificent and bittersweet, as it shows how AEW has so many talented wrestlers that are stuck in the holding pattern, while Rampage and Collision continue to be havens for curtain jerkers. Number 3, Toni Storm and Mina contract signing. Last night's contract signing stood out from the pack due to the surreal quality of Toni Storm, Mina Shirakawa's all-business approach, and Maria May being given an ultimatum to choose her BFF. The seemingly peaceful contract turned violent, surprise surprise, when the Outcast showed up, with Anna Jay helping them lay out all 3 wrestlers before Toni Storm regrouped and used her shoe as an equalizer. And no, we're not making this up. There were 2 big takeaways from this, what looks like a possible face turn for Toni Storm and Anna Jay possibly joining the Outcasts. Both could be good moves for the women's division. Daniel Garcia push. Last night's match between Daniel Garcia and Red Titus was a serviceable squash that showed AEW is giving Garcia another push and apparently looking to give him the rub from MJF, which is good news as a 25-year-old has repeatedly shown he could work any style and any work equally well as a babyface or heel. And Hook Samoa Joe interaction. The Samoa Joe and Hook partnership is an example of how 2 wrestlers' chemistry can lead to big things. Joe and Hook's banter has become one of the best parts of this mentor-student relationship as they mix brutalizing opponents while discussing rent and chopped cheese sandwiches. Shibata's computerized translations during his interactions with Joe and Hook are the proverbial icing on the cake. But that was a good. What about the bad? Is number 1, Don Callis family needs new blood. The Don Callis family needs new blood. The current lineup is weak with the exception of Will Ospreay, who seems leaving soon, and Takashita, and at this point, Don might as well bring in Paul Roma. Rush could be a good addition, but not if AEW uses a spot in the group like Trent Beretta, whose time in the family so far has been non-eventful. Number 2, Hechicero vs MJF. Hechicero vs MJF shows Tony Khan really books for the sickos, as he so lovingly calls AEW fans, as the average fans likely have never heard of him. While AEW's fans may be more aware of international stars than WWE fans, this match won't grow AEW's core audience. It will likely lead to a 4 or 5 star match, but in the long run, is Tony Khan booking AEW for himself, or is he looking to build a successful wrestling company with an expanding audience? And the clock is ticking. Tick-tock Mercedes Moné. Your AEW run so far has been a classic case of signing a big money deal and phoning it in. AEW President Tony Khan may have buyer's remorse based on how mid she's been. Every interview sounds the same, and whilst her matches are good, they're nothing that stands out from any of AEW's main eventers. Now, there was nothing downright ugly. It was amazing how Dynamite goes from being booked for a small core audience one week to being booked to possibly lure in new viewers by giving them marquee matches and hot angles. Last night was all about pleasing the core, and as long as AEW does this, its ratings are unlikely to change. Whether that's a plus or minus depends on whether you feel making a profit is part of running a business. What would you guys think of Dynamite last night? Let us know in the comments down below. Now let's move on to the news. Our first story looks at Shane McMahon showing interest in joining AEW. On top of today's news, is Shane McMahon interested in joining AEW? Well, that subject recently arose on an episode of Jim Ross's Grillin' JR podcast, and during the show, co-host Conrad Thompson commented, "There was a friend of ours, he went out of our way to text me, hey, that's not as crazy as you think. I know for sure that Shane McMahon has reached out to wrestlers on the AEW roster to at least hypothetically discuss the idea. For whatever reason, Shane McMahon hasn't seemed to have the same level of involvement in WWE as his sister Stephanie McMahon. It's unknown if he's interested in working behind the scenes at the WWE, and more importantly, whether TKO Holdings wants him there." A good old JR commented, "It's so crazy that it might work, depending on how it was positioned and how it was introduced. Shane called me the other day. He's called me 2 or 3 times, which I really appreciate. He's always been sensitive in that respect. That's only a question that Shane could answer. Shane and Tony Khan being together, how would that work creatively? Heck, who knows? might be great, but in any event, that all depends on Shane and what he wants to do. Do you guys think Shane McMahon would ever be All Elite? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, is there a glass ceiling for TNA stars in NXT? The recent influx of TNA stars on NXT has fans wondering just how far they can go on the black and gold brand. While fans should expect to see more interaction between the two promotions, Cageside Seats noted in its rumors section that one thing that we likely won't see is a TNA wrestler as an NXT champion. A source told Brennan that Shawn Michaels' booking indicates he will make anyone a #1 contender, not a champion. The interaction between NXT and TNA is only beginning, so things could change. Do you think WWE will book NXT and TNA stars as equals? Next up, where was Sami Zayn during the Wyatt 6 Massacre? How did Sami Zayn escape the backstage bloodbath at the end of 17th June's Raw? During a chat with Sportsnet, the current IC champion claims he wasn't initially aware of the brutal beatdown on his fellow superstars and colleagues. Yeah, so I actually didn't know that happened because I left the arena right after my thing was done. You may recall a recent story from Fightful Select that fans should pay attention not only to the superstars who were laid out, but those who weren't present during the attack. Sami added, so maybe 5 or 10 minutes before all that stuff happened on Monday Night Raw, I had no idea and I left the arena. I didn't look at the results or what happened or anything. Then I got to my hotel and I tweet out the pre-sale code for my comedy show, and all these replies from fans were like, your co-workers have been killed. What are you doing tweeting out the comedy show? Next up, AEW Being Sued? It looks like AEW may be headed to court as former announcer Kevin Kelly recently told Eric Bischoff that he plans to sue AEW after the promotion released him. During a WrestleFest signing, the former WWE personality provided his take on what happened, noting he complained to AEW management about Ring of Honor commentator Ian Riccoboni, allegedly making negative remarks about him. According to Kelly, AEW's Human Resources Department wouldn't tell him the results of their investigation into Kelly's complaint, and he was not told why he was being released. Next up, has Dirty Dom given in to Liv Morgan? Has Dirty Dom given in to Liv Morgan's relentless romantic overtures? Fans are asking this after Dominic retweeted Liv Morgan, posting pictures of herself along with a message thinking of you, tagging in Dom. Ringside News noted that wasn't all from Dominic, as in response to Morgan's mind games, Dominic Mysterio posted a gif of Dwight from The Office suggesting he was struggling to cope. This is just one of the many storylines that have the WWE Universe tuning in to see how they develop. Has he caved in though? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, Dynamite and Collision headed to the UK. It's good news for AEW fans in the UK as the promotion just announced it will hold tapings for Dynamite and Collision when it returns to the UK for the 25th June All-In pay-per-view at Wembley Stadium. Here's an excerpt from AEW's press release. All Elite Wrestling today announced that AEW Dynamite and AEW Collision will make their long-awaited debuts in Wales at the Utilita Arena, Cardiff on Wednesday, August 21st as part of All In London Week. Tickets go on sale on 28th June, but what do you guys think of AEW holding a TV taping in the UK? Do you think the show will be a sellout? And finally, Jerry Lawler talks WWE status. And last but not least, how is Jerry the King Lawler doing after suffering a stroke, and how does he feel about the WWE not renewing his commentary contract? The wrestling icon updated fans during an appearance on Going Ringside. I'm sort of hobbling around right now. I had a knee replacement on my right knee. It's doing good, but it's a little bit of hobbling here and there. Well, I seem to be doing pretty well. People just see me like this, but at home I live by myself. It's a little tough there right now, but it seemed to get better. As for his status with WWE, Lawler cleared up some confusion, pointing out the commentating contract ended. I had 2 strokes about 7 months ago, and so they stated that's not good for commentary, but I'm still under contract with them. I was glad to hear the King is doing well after his recent health challenges and send him our well wishes for a full recovery. But there you have it folks, our look at Dynamite as well as the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.